Biloxi blues, it happens every night. And I ain't never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine. The summer heat never treats me kind, it leaves trouble on my mind. Low budget. Not so freaking live, baby. This highway does not know my name. No, sir. It does not. We have said that before right here. Little Biloxi Blues. This morning, low budget, not so live. With a new logo? Come on with that. Come on with that, a new logo. Hope you all saw it. I don't think you did. Not many people liked the Instagram post. Made some Facebook posts about that. Big thank you to Karen Garcia, Miss Karen, who lives in Tejas and is originally from Venezuela. She works there at the THM Marine with me and is a very, very talented artist, and she did that on her own free will. Sent me that logo over. She did the original Low Budget Live logo, and she's like, you know what, you looking a lot classier now on the Low Budget Live Bar and Grill, so here's a new logo. So we got it. There it is. Right there is the logo. Right there. Low Budget Live, Not So Live, brought to you by Starbright Products, the great folks from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, bringing you Low Budget Live. And the reason I'm getting the amazing plug-in about Startron early in the show, as it's early in the morning on October 17th, is we're not going to have time for sponsor plugs in just a little bit. When I get revved up here, we're not going to have time for sponsor plugs. As bad as that may sound. So thank you to Startron. Put it in your weed eater, put it in your chainsaw, put it in your lawnmower. Just don't drink it. Just don't drink it. That's all. That's the only advice I got. But you can put it anywhere else. Startron enzyme fuel treatment. Thanks to the folks at Startron for bringing you Low Budget Live, Not So Live this morning from the LBL Bar and Grill. It's early in the morning. The triple threat has already left for the day, and I'm here. My foot is in a boot. So that happened. Haven't talked with anyone since that happened. I made a little video about it, but last week took a week off from the podcast to have some family time, and we got a lot going on in our family right now, and it's just always crazy. And Harper's in college now, and anyways, we got a chance to all get together and down at the beach for a couple days. So I said no podcast, and that's when this announcement hit. Dun dun dun! I need some sound effects. That's when the world was shaken up officially. I mean, it was shaken up last fall, but when it was shaken up, the fishing world was shaken up again officially, and I got a lot of emails and a lot of texts and a lot of DMs on Instagram and YouTube comments and Twitter in the Twitters. Follow me on Twitter. The Twitters. Like, when's LBL gonna, because we know you got something to say about it. And I appreciate that, because the fact that so many people care what I think, that's cool to me. That's cool to me. And you guys, based on what I see on YouTube and what I'm seeing on the podcast downloads, it very much seems like you enjoy listening to it. So, I appreciate it. I want to say before I get into this, one thing for sure, these are my opinions, okay? These are not the opinions of anybody I'm affiliated with on a sponsor basis or TH Marine work base. This is me. And this is just how I see things. That doesn't mean it's right. There are lots of people with different opinions, and I'm going to have one of them on the show today that has a very differing view. I thought about having an FLW guy on to share his point of view, and I will. like next week, in the weeks to come, we'll get feedback on that from FLW guys. Some of the big ones are up at the World USA Bass thing. It's like the Olympics of bass fishing. It's really cool. But a lot of them are up there. B-Lat's up there, Scott Martin, Dudley. Of course, Dudley's posted a video, his thoughts. But anyways, they're all up there. So some of the guys that I really wanted to reach out, like I wanted to have Scott and Dudley on. I'd like to have B-Lat on. And Scott really hasn't made a post about it. Scott hasn't said anything. And I think that's pretty a pretty bold statement in itself, being that he's one of the number one FLW anglers. But anyways, I'm one of the biggest YouTube guys and everything out there. But that being said, I'm going to have somebody that has an opposing view of me on the show, and that fishes the Bass Pro Tour, that was an FLW angler, and I think that is fair. And I think that before I tell you all my opinions, but I want to set it up that way. It's only fair that's the case. And I said this before, and I'll say this again: just because someone has a differing opinion of you doesn't mean you're not friends, and it doesn't mean that's crazy. There are very bad people in business that are greedy and arrogant and doing things that I don't want to be friends with, right? And I don't care, to be friends with them based off of things that they do. There are a lot of people I know that are going to continue to fish the FLW Tour, which I'm not going to do. There are a lot of people that are going to leave the FLW Tour that have fished it for a very long time. And whether they go to the Bass Opens, whether they go to work, whether they fish the Costas, Costas, I don't know what they'll be called next year, but so I got a lot of friends in a lot of places, and sometimes I ruffle feathers with what I say, but I'd like to think that we can all, at the end of the day, be friends and have a drink together and go fishing, because at the bottom line, and I said it a million times, is all of the low budget live bar and grill, the YouTube channels, the tournament fishing, all that, it starts from a love of catching fish, and we've all got a love of catching fish, and unfortunately drama like this and gossip kind of brings us together, which I like to run my mouth, so we're all good. So let's hop in, because I got about 20 minutes to ramble before I'm going to get my guest on here. And I guess he and I were on a podcast together last night, and I heard his views, and I said, hey, man, please come on the podcast with me. So to set this up, this is my opinion. Here's my opinion. FLW MLF. Here's my opinion. I've known since last fall, we've been hearing rumblings that this was coming. Of course, it affected my decision whenever TH Marine offered me what they offered me, and I got out. I got out free and clear. There are a lot of guys that aren't that lucky, and FLW as an organization was they're amazing to work with. It's like a family. They're really good people. On the sponsor side of things, they treat sponsors very, very, very well. Very well. They're easy to work with, and they're great people, from Trish Blake to, Kathy Fennell, Bill Taylor, Kelly Ottinger, Kyle Wood, Jody, Daniel Fennell, Chris Jones. There's too many to name. They're Kurt Niedenmeyer. They're amazing people, right? They're amazing people, and they are like family to me. They are very much like family to me. So I don't want any of this to seem like it's a shot at them, because it's not. I want to say I don't know what they had going on financially. I know what's being portrayed that they had going on financially, and the fact that they did sell tells me that maybe there were financial issues. If you look at FLW, some of you younger kids out there might not know this, but FLW in the late 90s, early 2000s was a powerhouse. It was a powerhouse. Erwin Jacobs, who passed away this year, Erwin was a shark, man. He was always a shark in business, and he came into this tournament fishing thing because he had purchased Ranger boats, and he was looking for a way to sell boats. He was. That's true. You'll hear some people say that from other organizations. That is basically why it was created, and it was the Ranger Boats Trail. And he did a phenomenal job. It was a genius marketing idea. Well, then he takes it a step further. Hey, let's figure out how to wrap boats. Let's wrap some boats. And they did that. They wrapped these boats up like NASCAR, and if you made it to the final day of events, you had to wear their jersey. You couldn't wear one of your jerseys. And pros are like, what? Shut the front door. What? We can't do that. But they kept showing up fishing for the money. Because the money FLW was putting out was just like, just stacking up. They gave away $1 million in the Forest Wood Cup, which no longer exists. They gave away $1 million. $1 million in a fishing tournament. Nobody's ever done that. $1 million. They gave it away. They gave it away $250,000 prizes. They paid, $10,000 down to freaking 100th place. Crazy things. But they had Walmart involved and all these non-endemic sponsors. And then one day, those non-endemics left. And you know what you had left? Industry sponsors. I say that because it's very important. And supposedly they're failing now financially. So in comes Major League Fishing, and they buy it. They need a feeder system. FLW has one of the most stable organizations from top to bottom, BFLs to the Costas to the tour. It's rock solid. College, high school, it's rock solid. They needed it. So they come in, negotiate a deal to buy it. Well, what do you see at MLF? What do you see? You see, when this first came to light, and I used to watch it a lot, you had guys wearing identical jerseys, guys fishing out of identically rigged boats, which pros have always had a problem with. That's why a lot of pros left FLW and went to bass years ago. And vice versa. It's crazy. They put these sponsors, we can't tell me what I can wear. I'm selling sponsors for my family. Go to the next trail. But it's all coming back, and there's been a lot of posts about full circle, and it is coming back full circle because this is FLW Irwin Jacobs 2.0. It is. And that could lead us to bigger prizes and more money and all of that. But you're giving up your freedoms to promote sponsors. You're wearing a Sonic logo. You're wearing a beef jerky logo. It's all the same thing that a lot of these guys fought against for years. Now they're not paying entry fees on Bass Pro Tour. That's awesome, right? Totally for that. That's awesome. They're putting on a heck of a production. That's awesome. It's good. But you can't tell me that cranking on the industry sponsors, you can only get so much blood out of that tournament, right? That turnip, you're going to poke it and poke it and poke it, and you're going to push it and push it and push it, and you're going to look up, and it's going to fall off a hill, and it's not going to be there. It's not going to be there anymore. And that's a problem. And that's what's going on now that they came into MLF. All sponsor contracts are dead. So FLW doesn't have a sponsor. They don't have a sponsor right now. And they're trying to resell it, and they're going to poke those industry sponsors, and a lot of them have already left MLF. They're going to poke them and poke them and poke them, and they're going to replace them with Petco or, whoever, and they're going to hang around a year and then disappear into the ether. And that's what happened with Irwin's FLW tour. That's what happened. So it scares me to see that is the tactic. The other tactic that is scary is, it's just a ploy to go against Bass. And I swear on everything I got, I think this makes Bass stronger. I do. I think Bass got some things they got to get together, but I think this makes Bass. I don't think it hurt Bassmaster. Once again, they didn't have their crap together on the BPT very much this year. And it's a known fact. Guys that fish it say it. Some guys that fish it want to leave. They contradict themselves a lot, okay? And it's year one. I'm not judging it, but too harshly, but at the same time, I'm not the one that came out and told everybody it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? Being an FLW tour guy and always following this sport as close as I have, a lot of FLW guys were my heroes growing up, and I got to participate in that, and it was amazing. So now to hear, well, FLW was failing, and we're the future, and we're bailing it out, and it's going to be better, and blah, 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 blah. And nobody knows FLW anglers. Nobody knows them. They're good anglers, but nobody knows who they are, but we put them in the limelight. That sucks. That sucks because there are a lot of really good guys at FLW, just like there are a lot of really good guys at Bass Pro Tour and Bassmaster. We're all doing and chasing the same crazy thing. So it sucks to hear that, okay? It sucks that a marquee event like the Forest Wood Cup is going away. So you can pump up your Red Crest that 600 people showed up to this year. Like, which will get bigger because they got money behind it, and that's fine. I don't want any of it to fail. I'm in this business. Speaking my opinion. Brian Thrift's going to be the last person to ever win a Forest Wood Cup because it's going away. But they're giving them an Angler of the Year championship, which pays less than the Costa championship or whatever it's going to be next year because contracts are null and void. So whoever's going to sponsor it, probably Uranus Fudge Factory, one of Watson's sponsors. That's probably who's going to sponsor it. It'll be the Uranus Fudge Factory series next year. I don't know, but that championship, and that's awesome, is paying $250,000, but it's paying more than the FLW Pro Circuit. Entry fees went up. This is something that, granted, we paid $35,000 last year. I'm fortunate that I got sponsors. It's never cost me a lot of money to be out there. But at the same time, on paper, if you're paying $40,000 to go to work for less payouts and no chance at a Forest Wood Cup marquee event, but they're claiming they're going to give more TV time. I mean, and maybe they do. That's not a sound business decision. You're going to pay $40,000 plus $20,000 or more in expenses. And this is always how it's been. And that's what BPT's trying to get away from, that I applaud them for. Okay. It's no entry fees. It's not feasible, but I'd like to see the entry fees come down, and they're going the other way. I was on an angler panel with FLW, and these are things we talked about. There's 7 events. If you get 7 checks, that's $70,000. If you spend $40 in entry fees and $20 in expenses, you made $10,000. Congratulations. You probably should have went to work at McDonald's and fished on the weekends. I mean, really, but we chase the dream. And Todd Castledine has said it best, dream. It's not a dream. It's not a dream to sleep in your truck and do all that, but we all choose it. So I don't want to come off like I'm bitching too much, because we do choose this life. We choose the professional fishing. And like I've told some of my buddies, they're like texting me, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm like, you go do what you want to do, because you're a paying customer. If you don't want to fish FLW, just don't pay to fish FLW. But our egos get in the way of that a little bit, because a lot of guys will pay $40,000 to be considered an FLW pro, just to have that next to their name, and that's fine. I said the same about the Bassmaster Opens. The entry fees went up. It doesn't matter. People are going to show up. They're going to say they fished the Bassmasters, right? Whether they're trying to qualify for the elites or not. FLW was an organization for a long time, and I'm still hearing it. They got dogged a little bit, and a lot of guys left and went to the Elite Series, and the Elite Series was the next best thing until this popped up, and then they left the Elite Series. It's very crazy, and fishermen tend to do that. We're all a bunch of whining asses, and we like to complain. Obviously, I've got a show where I do it, but I think that some of the things I've heard about being an FLW Tour pro over the year, the lack of talent and the the blah 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 blah, all these back and forth, Bass is better, and now a lot of those guys that used to make comments like that and different things, now they're all back in the fold. So it did indeed come full circle, like the mass social media posts about it said. I think there are positives in it. I think the fact that the BFL entry fees came down is really good. That was going to happen anyways, I feel like. And I feel like they wanted to be the ones to announce that, because, a lot of BFL guys are, like myself, the keyboard warriors. They're on Facebook. They're out there in the trenches, and they need that good press, so the BFLs will be successful. The BFL All-American will continue on. The Costa's added some divisions, killer championship. But the Tour, which is your marquee, is still just hanging out there in the balance. And there's not a lot of details. The format, 6-day events. It's a confusing format. We're going to fish 5 fish, which their commercial said this year was not good. Don't put them in a weigh-in bag. But then they're not going to fish it on the final days. And now I've heard through the grapevine that they're going to survey anglers to see what they want, which hasn't happened yet. But, are they going to practice, let them practice a day? Are they going to let them practice 2 days? It's all this stuff. And it's almost it's mid-October. I won't say November. That's pushing it a little further. But, guys have to make decisions. And this is just like BPT last year when it was late in the year. Guys are trying to make decisions. You're trying to make sponsor contract negotiations. Personally for me, TH Marine, we do all of our budgeting this time of year. So on sponsor stuff and marketing. So this is the time of year you have to get your work done. And when you don't know what you're going to do or what the organization's going to do or what you're going to be able to provide for your sponsors, it makes it really hard on that front. I can't imagine being a rookie coming into this year, into this mess, or a veteran, because the veteran guys, the Brad Knights, the Todd Castledines, I'll throw little Sammy George in there, who's been doing this for a while. You still don't know what you're going to do. You don't know what your league's going to look like. I heard that they may knock it back to 5 tournaments, all this craziness. But this is just my opinion, but I believe with the $40,000 entry fee, they hope a lot of guys will go to the Costas and not fish the tour because they want a smaller field. They wanted it to be 30 boats. They don't want it to be 150. They want it to be 30, and they want everybody else to go back to the Costas because when 10 guys drop out of that Bass Pro Tour, they need a landing spot. And that's where they're going to land, I'm sure. That's not all in writing yet. And I still don't even know how you get to the Bass Pro Tour through the FLW. They haven't came up with any of that. And of course, they still got a couple years to figure that out. So I think it's kind of a ploy. I may be wrong. Maybe it's just a ploy to make money. And I don't feel like there'll be 150 guys sign up. I don't. They've had to turn them away in the past, though. People willing to throw that kind of money at big-time bassing, so as Pat Renwick says. So we'll see. We'll see. I feel like not having final day weigh-ins is you don't have those winning moments. I've talked about that when a guy's just in his boat and he's like, got it done. You don't have that Brian Latimer dropping to his knees, crazy passion, emotion, everything running through him. You don't have that anymore. And that's going away. And I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good. People like big fish. They like 5 fish. And this format's going to be very confusing for fans if they mix and match their format with the typical 5 fish format. And a guy's going to catch, 25 pounds a day for 3 days. And then some guy's going to beat him. And then everything goes. I don't even know how you'll practice for that personally, especially if you only got a day or 2 days, some of these fisheries. But it'll be interesting. Will I watch? Yep, because I'm going to have a lot of friends there. I'll definitely watch. But I feel like instead of making strides, the Bass Pro Tour made a lot of strides for themselves in an invitation-only situation, no qualifications, and there are guys on the tour that absolutely have better track records than 20 of those guys over there. No offense to those guys. But Brian Thrift is in the top 3 anglers in the world. Now, he did get invited, and he turned them down. So I'm not knocking that, but he got invited like last after they invited everybody else, and he turned them down. But that being said, like now he's going to be AAA compared to, it's silly. It's silly. And they keep talking about, everybody talks about, man, sport needs to be more professional. Yeah, it does, but it needs to start with a qualifying process, not a hand-picked selected list. Because that's not how it should work. That's not how the Elite Series ever worked until last year when they got pillaged and they had to add a lot of guys. But it's going to be crazy. I don't know what's coming. I don't know if guys leave the BPT, or they're going to invite, the Dudleys and the Thrifts of the world to the BPT and then leave the rest to the FLW Pro Circuit, or if that's in the plan, if some guys are dropping out, some guys retire. Like, I don't know. I have no idea. I just know my opinion on it, and I feel like it's not all roses, especially for the tour guys. It's just not, and there are a lot of really good guys that have done it for a really long time. So, another thing that I got notes today. Another thing I want to touch on and is keep hearing about, we're on the Discovery Channel. I keep seeing a lot of posts about it, and that's awesome. That's a big network. It's a big network. bass fishing is not wicked tuna, and bass fishing is not deadliest catch. And it's also on at 7 in the morning, not prime time like those others. You know, we're all a bunch of rednecks wearing matching shirts and matching boats running around. And the show's good, right? The show's good. I'm just saying it doesn't have the drama of a deadliest catch or a wicked tuna. We got the characters, we certainly do, but they all look the same. They all look the same when you roll them out there. There's no, other than personalities, there's no visible difference to them. You don't have anybody to identify, latch onto, and I just feel like having that carrot dangling, which they dangled to anglers and sponsors and all the stuff they were going to get, it's just not that. That being said, the guy I'm going to get on the phone here shortly, his career, he feels like his fishing career was made, that they made him a household name, and I will agree with that completely. So he owes them a lot. He definitely owes them a lot for that, and his take is very interesting, and he's passionate just like I am, and we're going to try not to yell at each other just here in a few minutes. I think that I've had a week to get over it a little bit when it's coming. I got really mad again yesterday just because I know how hard we worked on an angler panel for the entry fees. A lot of guys on an angler panel with FLW, and we worked hard on it last year. And guys before me, and some of them actually left over these things. But they got the Marshall program and stated some of these veteran guys that were around before my time at FLW, and it was all for nothing. We sat in those meetings. We had one at almost every event, and nothing changed. And unfortunately, the FLW folks don't have a lot of say in that, I feel like. And I have heard that they have fought for the 150 boats, and they fought for a lot of things. And I hope that the good people at FLW stay with FLW. That way there's some good in there on the organizational side of it. I hope Mr. Bill Taylor, still the tournament director. I hope things, don't change too much. But change is scary. Can it be good? Yes. Is this the best thing for FLW? I don't know. They thought so. So, not judging it too hard for them selling it, but, I am disappointed. That's for sure. I'm disappointed. That being said, let's reach out to somebody right now who is let's see what he says right here. Let's shoot him a little text. He is not disappointed. His point of view is very different than mine. Like I said, I was going to get a another FLW tour guy or two. I'm tired of being negative all the time. They sound crazy, but my foot's in a boot. Got a lot going on. My freaking ankle's broke. We'll talk about that after I get off the phone. But see if he will pick up this morning.
Hello?
James Watson.
Hello?
Hello? Hello? How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I've been staying up too damn late last night talking to Pat Rennick on his podcast, Straycast, whatever the hell that was.
That long-haired hippie, Pat Renwick,
He is a long-haired hippie from 1967.
needs to get a damn haircut and a job, don't he?
He does need to get both of those.
What's up, buddy? This is Low Budget Live. You've been on it numerous times. Not so live. We're actually not live. I'm recording this from my new Low Budget Live bar and grill at my house that you need to come and see.
I heard the food is horrible there. There's no way I'll ever come there.
It's terrible. The food is terrible.
The service sucks.
So I have to. I said this. I gave my spiel on the FLW MLF thing before you came on, and you and I have talked about this and my opinions. And you, last night I was watching Stray Cast, and I heard your take on everything. And instead of calling some other FLW guy that's going to boo-hoo and cry on the podcast, I wanted your take on it. I want your stance, because you were an FLW guy that jumped over there, but you also fished the Major League Fishing Selects, and you feel like, based on TV time and things, that they kind of help push you out there, you know.
You bet.
And I know you believe strongly in what they're doing, and I want you just to give your take on what you see for this FLW MLF thing.
Well, now listen. Now, when I say these things, I'm not here to piss nobody off.
Yeah. I said the same thing.
And I love both organizations, FLW, Major League Fishing. Hell, I even love the Bass organization. Okay, I'm just a bass fishing junkie. If I had the options to watch bass fishing live every day, that's what I'd do. But unfortunately, seems like some companies can't just get along and maybe work and coordinate so that we're not stepping on each other, because a lot of the companies are after the same dollar.
That's right.
Okay, so I understand the business side of that, and some people might not know this about me, but I'm probably a little more business savvy than most anglers are.
True.
And the fact of the matter is, there's $1, and there's used to be 3 organizations trying to get it. Now there's 2. I believe that FLW is a great place to go fishing. They give us an opportunity at the BFLs. You know, I remember the Red Man. I remember when the Golden Blend was a big circuit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that now is the BFL and the Costa Series. And of course, the FLW Tour I fished for years. I loved it. Loved all the people that ran that, from Kim to Bill to Steve and Denise that run the weigh-ins, and McWall, all of them, Daniel, all of them, and they made that job fun. And I hate to see that go away, and it doesn't look like it's going to go away this year. So what always was my fear as an FLW angler here the last few years was, I heard the FLW's financially was always struggling. And if there's any truth to that whatsoever, okay, FLW always took care of their anglers. They always tried to make sure that we had a venue to fish, and I love them for that. But that's not without saying that they had, from what I heard, some struggles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, have you heard that?
Well, I mean, I talked about that before you got on here, in that when Walmart left, it was very obvious things changed. Mm-hmm. You know, for sure. And we sat in angler panel meetings and different things where, you know, we were told, hey, that's just not feasible. We can't do that. So you knew there was some financial strain, for sure,
right.
For sure. So that's definitely fair to say.
So with that in mind, again, I'm not saying that FLW was going to go broke.
Right.
I'm not saying that I just know that a lot of things had changed. The money wasn't what it used to be. And the money seems to get worse every year for anglers. All right.
Right.
And I'm not boo-hooing. I pay to play. All right.
It's what we've all done until this year with you guys on BPT. That's the nature of the beast.
And praise the Lord, the BBT, we didn't have to pay an entry fee.
PTL.
Who can boo-hoo about that?
Nobody.
And whatever anglers are involved in Major League Fishing and Bass Pro Tour now that have forgotten that, they need to remember that. All right? But my thing is, what would happen to, let's talk about the boo-hooing going on. And there's nothing I can't stand than negative Nancy's. I can't stand it. If you've got a valid reason to be negative, if you've got factual reasons, and I'm not talking about I like a 5-fish limit better than all you can catch bullshit. I get sick of that crap. There's always a guy that's going to win first place in all these events. Can you be that one guy? Oh, you can't? Then quit crying. All right? Here's the facts. If FLW went away, how much boohooing would go on? I mean, went away. No
listen.
no Costas,
Yeah.
no nothing.
I get it. I get that.
Now, here's the next thought. Who in the hell thinks that Major League Fishing could have stood up a grassroots movement like the BFLs that are already in place? Who thinks that Major League Fishing, the Bass Pro Tour, and Chronicle, and all that involved could have stood such an organized grassroots program up in less than 3 or 4 years?
You can't. It's not possible. Impossible.
Freaking impossible.
Because even what y'all are doing with all the strides that BPT made, there's still some issues, right? Like they're still working their way through it. You can't, and I said that earlier, like it's hard to judge it really harsh like some people are. And there are things, you've talked about this on the phone a million times, but there are things I like, things I don't. But I don't have a dog in the race other than working for a sponsor now because I retired, James. I retired. But that being said, like it would be hard to imagine somebody could do a successful grassroots trail in that amount of time with any amount of money.
It would. And so many times, again, I get on there. I'm a victim of my own work here. I'll get on and see some of these posts, the social media posts, and chat boards and stuff like that, talking about, well, since they couldn't build their own platform, grassroots platform, looks like they had to go out and buy it. And
that's not necessarily a negative.
That's not a negative.
Yeah, I don't.
People are looking at it as a negative, and I'm like, are you freaking mentally challenged? Do you really hate all you can catch limits versus a 5-fish limit that you have to spew stupid shit out of your mouth? I mean, it baffles me.
Now,
the people that don't see the positive in what's going on.
Here are. Go ahead.
Go.
No, here are my, and you can tell me your thoughts on this. Is from being an FLW guy. Like I said, I'm not anymore. The problems I see, some of the sponsor stuff that's going on that I can't, it's all the sponsor contracts are dead, and some of that stuff's very frustrating. But for me to see a guy like Brian Thrift or a Scott Martin or whoever, that the FLW Pro Circuit will be beneath the Bass Pro Tour on paper, even if it already was, right? In the world of bass fishing, even if it already was, for that to kind of be considered AAA and to not have a Forest Wood Cup anymore, I think what they did at the BFL level should be applauded. I think the Costas are freaking out of this world for a tournament trail. I think that's going to be amazing. Yeah.
The best value in the business of bass fishing right now for a tournament angler, the Costas is the best bang for your buck.
Yeah, no doubt. The best pay. They were already good payouts, had the championship, but now the championship got a boost. But I don't like that they took a cup away because I feel like the cup was just a prestigious event, and I know that's probably financial, but that's some of my issues now. And all these guys like I do. We're all friends, and so that's what I said. Anything negative I say or anything you say that I don't agree with or anybody don't agree with, like we're all friends at the end of the day. Like we can all scream and yell at each other about all this, but at the end of the day, like we all want to see all of this succeed because we love bass fishing, we love watching bass fishing, and we love participating in bass fishing. So
and we love our fans.
No doubt about it. It's why I do this. It's why you do everything you do. We love it. So, what was your overall feel with the Bass Pro Tour year one as far as you? What were your opinions? Were there anything that you'd like to see them do different, do better as far as like? And what I'm talking about is like the post game show stuff. Format. I mean, because you've been fishing that format for a while. What were your takeaways from year one on the Bass Pro Tour?
Well, as quick as everything was put together, I'm really, really super impressed with how smooth everything went. And I might have just a little dead spot here coming up, Luke.
Oh, you're fine.
Stay with me.
I'll go back and record it and act like you hung up on me, like you got mad. And then James slammed the phone down. Okay.
I was impressed with how smooth it went, but that wasn't without. It went smooth because every angler that we is a seasoned veteran. You didn't have to tell us, hey, we didn't have these big long meetings about how things were going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
We might have had meetings, but we didn't have, you know, it was we weren't somebody you had to make sure you go over every line item of the typical tournament meeting stuff.
Yeah. Which get old.
Business. That's right. Every one of our meetings was business oriented to how to make the next tournament better. Okay. Hey, this didn't go the way we really liked it, or we had a big discussion, and I was the guy that stood up at the second venue and stood up and said, "Guy," I said, this whole talk about this fish going in the live well will probably die, crap. We really got to turn that down.
Yeah.
About 99 notches.
Yep, and you did do that for sure.
We did, and it happened just like that. Now unfortunately, you see the first TV show on Discovery Channel had some of that in there.
Yeah.
That wasn't getting around it. But as you see these TV shows come on, there'll be less and less of that you'll see. It is a fact that a bass gets beat up in a live well versus that. But what we didn't need to do is be hypocrites.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and that's what, when I was going down the road and I was headed to Conroe from Florida to drop my rig off, fly home, I was listening to live and watching live. And every time somebody said, well, this fish, look how deep that fish is hooked, he's bleeding real bad. He'd die if he went in a live well. His chances of surviving are not very good if we had a 25-mile run back. I was like, oh, every time somebody said that, and they said it a lot, I just wanted to, just pop my head.
Oh, yeah.
It was just agonizing. So we talked about that. I said, guys, we can't keep doing that. It's nothing wrong to say catch, weigh, release. It's the best thing for a bass. That's fact. We know that. You can't argue that.
No, you can't. I agree.
But what you don't need to do is be a hypocrite and say all these bass died because what we've been doing the last 25 years, 30 years.
And the fisheries are better now than they've ever been.
Dude, bass are getting bigger,
Yeah.
better. Sacks are getting bigger. I don't remember limits of bass weighing 25 pounds.
No, me either.
In the 1990s?
Nope.
Give me a freaking break.
Early 2000s even. My dad and I talk about this. When I fished a bass club in the late 90s, mid 90s, late 90s, I mean, dude, when you caught 20 pounds, you were walking up there like daddy's done got them. And now around here, dude,
thanks for showing up.
25 to 28, 30 on all of our lakes. I mean, it's insane, dude. And yeah, no kidding. So the fisheries are better, and I think fishermen have gotten a lot better too. But I think the fisheries are in better shape than they've ever been.
I do too. I can't argue that one bit. Some lakes might have a virus or something.
Yeah.
Some lakes might have some kind of catastrophic incident that hurts their spawn.
Yep.
Or something like that, and that's going to happen because that's God's.
That's
way
right.
Of control.
It's like Kentucky Lake right now. Like something's going on and we don't know.
That's right, and I hope we never. The best thing I felt too, guys, when Luke, when they said this FLW thing was, I'm thinking to myself, oh God, does that mean we'll never go back to Kentucky Lake again, or once every 10 years? Please, Lord Jesus.
Amen. Amen. Y'all are going to fish an FLW schedule next year. Now that you're going to Beaver, you're going to Hartwell, Beaver, Lake Martin,
oh my gosh,
Okeechobee to start with for sure every year.
Ignore you, Beaver and Okeechobee. I kind of like.
No, I was going to say, yeah, both of those. You're totally fine with both of those.
But I'm just excited about all this deal, guys. It's time for some changes because, again, how much longer can a company that's not doing well financially, lost big sponsors and not getting the same sponsorship back? How long can you keep going? I mean, Major League Fishing, the Bass Pro Tour, these guys, Chronicky, they're out there selling and hustling. We're getting a lot more non-endemic people involved in fishing. And here's one thing, and I loved FLW. I got a front page magazine. I got some TV time with them. They were good for my career. It was a platform that I was able to buy my way into. All right, I'm not ashamed to say that.
Right, right.
And, well, I mean, nowadays it's not going to be like that. It's not going to be that easy to get in.
Qualify.
And that's a great organization. But again, could they sustain that for a few more years? Now that Major League Fishing has got that, the non-endemic sponsors are really heavily involved. And I can tell you this too, Luke, when I go do a show or I'm out in the general public, and I get stopped a lot, and it still makes me smile because I'm like I put my pants on one leg at a time. I don't jump in with both legs like Kevin does.
No, definitely not.
And
in them tight pants.
Skinny jeans like Brent Ayler. And people come up to me. You know what the number one thing that guys that come up to me come up and say?
What's that?
Man, we love watching you on Major League Fishing. My wife is your biggest fan.
Which you love.
Which I love. I love the ladies. The ladies love me back.
Lady love James.
But, yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, and they say this, and they say, my wife hated fishing, but she'll watch Major League Fishing because you're on there. I hear that, and I'm not just saying I
know.
heard it a handful of times. I hear it all the time, more than I hear anything else. So if we're able to bring that new person into fishing, and if that wife gets excited about fishing or enjoys watching it, she now understands the passion that her husband has, or the desire her husband has to leave her at the house so he can go fishing for the weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's she's gonna bless off, and she's gonna allow you to go to Bass Pro and buy some more stuff, or maybe get a new rig, or upgrade your trolling motor. I'm just saying that is just how the market works. We are bringing new people in the business. We are pissing off some diehard bassers who want a 5-fish limit, and I see it every day. I can't stand MLF, 5 fish for life, BASS.
A lot of negative.
You know what? All the negative, and I'm thinking to myself, sorry guys, it's funny. I'll click on some of these guys' page, and they're following me. They're fans of mine.
Of course they are.
And
I think they're fans of all the guys doing it. I just don't think they're fans of the organizations. You know.
Okay. So be it. But those guys aren't going to stop buying a Strike King 6XD.
No.
They're not going to stop buying a Lucky Strike RC stick. They're not going to stop and cancel their subscription to Mystery Tackle Box.
No.
I mean,
they're going to keep fishing.
That's right. They're already hooked. And we're going to continue to have an influence on them, whether they say it or not.
Yeah.
Okay? And I hate to call people liars. And I'm not going to call them liars.
Well,
I'm going to say they're going to keep watching.
Well,
say they're not.
Well, sometimes, and I agree with that. I think a lot of people are watching all trails. It gets hard too when they're scheduled on top of each other, like you said. But that's been a battle between FLW and Bass for years. They schedule on top of each other. There's no talking between the organizations whatsoever. I think the first time Bass and FLW actually really talked was when the BPT came in and invited everybody and took guys, and they talked a little bit, and then Bass turned around and took a bunch of FLW guys. So they're like, hey, we're in this together. Oh, by the way, we're going to steal like 12 of your best guys who made up our top 10 in AOI this year. But, they can't, it's all a business. But I think for me, what I see online more than anything, and for me, me, like if I get on this podcast and I say it, dude, that's what I think about it. My mind can be changed. I'm in support of the industry, but a lot of internet comments that you see, a guy would never say that to your face. He would never tell you, man, MLF sucks. That same guy that comments that on your Facebook will see you at a Bass Pro Shops appearance and say, man, that MLF's cool. How you like it? You know what I mean? Like they just, yeah. And I've seen, I feel like the feedback last week on the announcement was overwhelmingly negative online. I saw a lot of negative stuff, and I chose not to get involved. And I feel like, and this is going to make me sound really arrogant, but I feel like I have a right to speak on it for several different reasons because I competed, I participated, and I'm in the industry, and I can tell you from all sides what it looks like right now to me from my eyes. And like I said when I started this is not TH Marine's opinion. It's just my opinion. It's not any of my sponsors' opinion. Just like everything you're saying, it's James's opinion. That's not any sponsors. So, and I'm not saying people shouldn't be able to comment, right? I'm just saying maybe everybody doesn't have all the facts all the time on everything that's going on.
That's right.
So, well,
and it's. I feel I have a hard time sometimes biting my tongue.
I do too.
Thank God I have Michelle as a manager, which, by the way, hey, she's still single. Everybody.
Hey, Michelle, look up Michelle, Blonde Girl Promotions. Get at Michelle.
Blonde Girl Promotions. Yep. Always looking for a husband, a rich one too.
She's thirst trapping on Instagram right now. Probably get in there and slide in her DMs.
Yes, she loves that DM. So, anyway, you're welcome, Michelle.
We'll post her phone number at the end of this.
Absolutely, we will. Yes, so everybody can have it. Text message her. She loves it.
Loves it.
Dude, she keeps me in check. All right.
She let you go a little bit last night, though, because I was texting with her during your Stray Cast appearance.
Is that why she wouldn't answer my phone call?
No.
Oh,
no.
She did avoid my phone call.
She did avoid your phone call because she says she's not stupid. She
is stupid.
She knew what was coming.
Yeah.
But she keeps you in check.
Yeah, so she doesn't, she'll call me ahead of time when something out there's really gotten blasted. She says, don't do it. And I'm like, what? And she said, don't comment on any of that. You don't need to do that. And sometimes I don't listen to her. Sometimes I get on there. Sometimes I get on there because I can only take so much bullshit. And even though it might not be directed at me, but it is directed at my cronies and in the company that I deal with. And I do believe that sometimes the general public, bass angler, getting on there, I believe that sometimes a guy like me that's in an influential position as an MLFer and a professional bass fisherman, semi-successful bass fisherman at that, I think some of us should jump on there every once in a while and tell that person or that group, like, guys, just open up a little bit, calm down, and give it a second, relax, and let us all be patient and let us all work through this, because this is a trying time, and we're going to have our glitches. We're going to have our hiccups. Just like this year when we did that post game. The post game was a big waste.
Mm-hmm.
It was a waste of time. All right. And after we've done that this year, we found out that, hey, we weren't getting any bang for that. So we're not going to do it again.
Right.
And that's the way our format's going to be. Guys, we can go in there. We're trying not to be confusing, but the bottom line is it is confusing because people get confused with the Bass Pro Tour and they get confused with Major League Fishing, the actual show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Bass Pro Tour, we get to wear our own jerseys. We get to fish out of our boats, but the format's the same. Major League Fishing, their boats, their jerseys, format's the same. So people get confused about that. That's going to take some time. And here's what else for the naysayers. It's actually going to require your lazy ass to investigate what our format is. That bugs the crap right out of me. Guys will get on there and bash it and say, I'm so confused. And I'm thinking, you follow bass fishing for X amount of years and you don't understand this format? It's because you've never even looked at it. You're confused because you never even give it consideration to look at it. It's not confusing at all. So
I think I will say I think some of the confusion, and just from what I've seen and heard from people, is a little bit on like these guys fish this day, these guys fish that, but that's still not hard once you if you pay attention, you can kind of figure out what's going on. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not that hard. I get all that. And I'll say this, even any criticism I've had against, those guys at all, being the organization and things that have gone on, I get tired of saying the mostly little fish, and people do love big fish. They do love big fish. But like when you guys went to those lakes in Carolina, like y'all cracked some freaking big ones. Y'all just didn't go to a lot of places. Like Table Rock was a bad example. A lot of people were, Todd Castledine and I actually argued about this after Table Rock on this podcast. Like Wheeler catching 87 bass, dude, there's not many people that have ever caught 87 bass in a day. That's cool to see. Now, granted, if it's 87 4-pounders, everybody's going even crazier, I guess, but and there's potential of that, I'm sure, somewhere, Kentucky Lake in 1995, maybe. I don't know, but
not April or May or June at Table Rock.
No, that's not. Yeah. So when people were going, man, the biggest fish was 3 pounds. Well, that's Table Rock. I mean, you live there, but you guys went to, the North Carolina lake, and there were big ones, and you caught big ones. I mean, there were a lot of big ones caught. There were some big ones caught at Conroe. There were big ones caught at in Florida.
I think my best five the second day of the first Table Rock event would have been 17 pounds.
No kidding.
But nobody give me a pat on the back. You know why? Because I sucked. And I fished 27th out of my 40-man group.
Well,
let me tell you
we won't talk about that.
I just did. So, about that, the format and all that too. I fished the thing for the year. And I still, because frankly, I just don't care. Because I know where I got to be, what time I got to be there. I still couldn't tell you the knockout round, shotgun round, blast off round, go to the moon round, all that. That is confusing, but I really don't care. I'm in there and I know I got to fish Monday and Wednesday, and if I make it through Monday and Wednesday, I get to fish Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you ask me, well, what round was that? I'm like, it was the first round. All right.
Yeah.
And then I get eliminated.
Yeah.
Well, what do they call that? Well, who gives a shit what they call it? All right. Why don't we just focus on the fact that I get to fish another day
and not pay for it?
That's right.
And not pay for it.
Now, also, Luke, because you've asked this, and I had some of these things written down here. I myself joined the Bass Pro Tour because I saw the potential in what Major League Fishing's done for me as a select angler. All right? All 80 of us guys were promised TV time. We, in turn, promised our sponsors. We, in turn, went out and sold this to our sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
It was easy for me. I can tell you the guys that lost a little bit this year is the guys like me that had for sure television time because we're select anglers. I for sure got 2 days a year.
Right.
If I caught them good, I'd get day 3, maybe 4, maybe up to 6 days of TV time, depending on how I did. I lost that guarantee.
Right.
And now I have to fish for it. In my opinion, the Bass Pro Tour is great. We fish the Red Crest is our championship. We fish every 2 events. 1 and 2 qualify for cup number 1. 3 and 4, cup number 2. 5, 6, cup number 3. 7 and 8 tournament is cup number 4. In my opinion, and I'm going to voice this to my group, and I'm going to voice this to the higher beans, all 80 guys, in my opinion, and I don't want to hear, well, you got to fish better. Well, if I got to fish better to get on TV, that's exactly the same shit I had to do when I was at FLW.
Yeah.
And the same shit you had to do when you was the Bass Elites. If we've got 4 MLF Cups and 4 MLF shows that are 6 days long, so 6 shows per cup, all 80 anglers should have 2 cups. That's my opinion.
I guarantee. I like that. I think that's fair.
All right. The guys that have the performance base, they're going to get their Discovery Channel. I frankly don't like the fact that just the top 10 get airtime on the Discovery Channel.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I believe there's talks already about a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
That we're going to change.
Without a doubt.
So we're going to change these things, and we're going to make it better. We're going to make it better for the viewer, the bass heads, and we're going to make it better for us, the anglers, and it's going to get better. It's just going to take some trial and error, time and patience. That's it. So that's my take on that. And if all 80 of us anglers got 2 cups apiece, we got sellable product that we can take our sponsors, and we're more of value, even if we're not wearing their jerseys. Okay, that I think a lot of people get wrapped up. Well, I don't get to wear my jersey, or I don't get to fish out of my boat. Oh, that's true. But if you're invited to do a TV show, and your image is you, your face, people follow you and your website and your social media pages, the very fact alone that you are fishing on television draws people to you, which in return draws people to those that you market with. You don't have to have a logo on your jersey to be sellable. You just got to get on TV to be sellable. That's my take on that.
I like it. And I agree with you on a lot of things. There's one thing I'll say, and I know you said you had a 915, so you're getting close to it, I'm sure. But my only concern with non-endemic sponsors, and you said this a few minutes back, and I touched on this earlier, is that's what Irwin did. Now, when he did it, bass fishing was as big as it had ever been money-wise, right? We saw $1 million checks and those things, but then those guys dwindled away. Do you think, in your business mind, because you are as business savvy as anybody I've ever met, my take on this is you still got to have those industry sponsors. Now, granted, they're splitting their money up over, several pieces of pie, and those non-endemics do typically have, like I love non-endemic sponsors for me in my fishing for several reasons. Those are the ones you want because not everybody's fighting over them.
Right.
But I think the scary thing on non-endemics is they seem to be one and done a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like they come in, hey man, and I said Petco earlier being funny, but like Petco, hey, we're here. This is the Petco series. And then next year I think we've seen that with NASCAR. You know what I mean? So many times where sponsors change. As long as there are sponsors, that's fine. I'm just saying, does that ever make you nervous though? Because I know the volatility of non-endemics from dealing with them personally. And yes. I feel like industry sponsors should be catered to, whether that be a boat brand or what, whatever, tackle companies, whatever. I think that they're the foundation of what we're doing,
Yes. Yeah. I can't argue that. And the non-endemic sponsors, you're right. Honestly, Luke, every sponsor that I got, I know personally, they like me as a person. They don't want me to be different. They want me to run my mouth like I run it.
Perfect.
But the thing is, I'm worried every year about contracts.
Of course.
I don't know. I don't know if they're willing to pony up and pay me a paycheck again the next year. I hope that I do. That they keep me employed, non-endemic or endemic, it doesn't matter. I'm scared about both of them. But you're right on the non-endemics. They might sign a 3-year contract and be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And this year we might be driving Chevrolet trucks on the circuit, pulling the weigh-in trailers and all that stuff with Dodges.
Yep.
That's going to happen.
You never know.
I don't know. I don't know how to fix that.
Well, it's the nature. It's the nature of it. I'm just my thing is it's just I think the industry sponsors are always the ones that I feel like historically have always been the landing net, the safety net when that went away. Because you look right now, what were the biggest sponsors pre-MLF buying FLW? The biggest sponsors of FLW were Ranger, Evinrude, Costa, TH. Lowrance, industry sponsors. You had some non-endemics, but they weren't big deals like they had in the past. So they're the safety nets. So they've got to be careful in how they handle that situation. But, dude,
absolutely. Luke, is it going to get better though? Because now instead of 3 leagues that we did this year, there's only going to be 2.
Well, you say that, and I still feel like. And I can't say too much because I had a conversation yesterday. As a matter of fact, I was on about some of this stuff business-wise. But there's still 3, though, because you still got MLF as a set, like from a sponsor standpoint, I know TH Marine, like we have 3 separate contracts, and it'll still be that way next year.
Okay.
So you still technically have 3 organizations because you do have ML. I know BPT and FLW, it's all together, but the sponsor contracts are separate, if that makes sense.
Right.
So for sponsors, I still feel like there's 3.
Okay.
I still do. I still think we're going to split some dollars up because of that. I really do.
I can see that changing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Know where the direction's going.
Yes, I agree.
And I think we're going to have another year, or possibly 2, of newness or growth, and it's something that we'll all have to be flexible about.
Yeah.
And in your position, you're a company that counts your dollars.
No doubt.
Am I getting the bang for the buck?
That's right.
Do I really want to be a part of this confusion? Let me renegotiate. Let me pull back. Let me wait and see what goes on. There's a lot of sponsors. I can tell you this. There's a lot of sponsors that's been in the business a long time with a bunch of anglers that I personally know that wanted to see how things went this year.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest names in fishing are probably the ones that were most vulnerable this year through all this. Up and coming guys like me that have nowhere but upward growth to go. When I say this, I mean in my bank account with sponsors, we gained.
Yeah.
I gained substantially this year where I know I've got some personal friends that their deals got chopped a little bit.
Yes, there were some guys that lost sponsors for sure, and that hasn't been talked about a lot. But there were some big name guys that took some major hits. But you're right, and I said that on here. The guys that stand to gain are not the Van Dams in this situation. The guys that stood to gain were you and Justin Atkins and
that's right.
Whoever else. But I mean, I think Keith Poche, had a really good year and got out there in the limelight a little more than he ever had. And some other guy, or hell, look at Sprague. Nobody knew Jeff. Really, you know what I'm saying? In the grand scheme of things, they still don't. But truly, so there's definitely a lot of that. Then you still had some household names that were up there, but. I see your point. I think we've got, I don't know, we just got to wait and see. There's definitely, in my position and in a lot of sponsors' position, it's definitely a wait and see. And I know, for TH, it's frustrating. I will throw them in here on this. It is frustrating not knowing what's going on and being this late in the game. And that's for everybody, and that's for the anglers. It was the same way for you last year. You're like, hell, what are we doing? Are we fishing? Are we not? What are we going to do? And, unfortunately, these things take time to iron out. But we will see.
Yeah, I'm sitting here right now. Luke, I don't go anywhere without my paper calendar right here for 2020 where I write things down. And all I've got for the Bass Pro Tour is the dates that we're going somewhere.
But you do have dates?
I got dates, but I don't have locations. And we don't have dates or locations for the Costas.
No.
I'm going to fill in I'm going to fish every possible week I can fish if my travels allow that. So I'm still waiting. I got the Bass Opens here. All right. And what people don't know or what people think is that us MLFers avoid BASS.
Yeah.
We don't. If we can slide an open in, if we can eat 2 deposits in order to fish an open, trust me, we're gonna go there and fish because that's what we get paid to do.
And that's what we love. That's what started all this.
That's right. So I'm fishing. I don't care whose stamp is on it. I'm gonna try to get in it, try some money. More importantly, try to get that press that my sponsors want me to get.
And pay you for it.
That's right. My grandma always said this because I was a fat little chubby kid growing up. Still am kind of chubby, but I was always getting some negative attention or whatever, and so I subsidized that with positive attention. And one day my grandma said, "Man," she said, "Jimbo, if you want attention, why don't you shove a flashlight up your ass and turn it on tonight downtown on the square? And everybody will notice you then. That's my grandma saying that. I'm like, Grandma, why you want me to shove something up my ass for? That just sounds painful. Totally inappropriate.
So,
you didn't turn it on.
So in closing, are you saying that Major League Fishing shoved a flashlight up their ass? I think that's what you said. They wanted attention, and FLW is the flashlight.
There it is.
There it is. James Watson. James, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. Oh, dude, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it, dude. And I will holler at you later. Anything you want to get out there, shout outs or anything.
Hey, yeah, I do. What people may not know behind the scenes, when Luke Duncan, James Watson, Gerald, and some of us guys get together, it's off the chain. And that's what I love.
Yes.
I like catching bass. I love catching bass, don't get me wrong. But I live for this.
Yes.
This camaraderie is why I'm in this business.
If you ever see James and I, we do hate each other on social media. It's a good time saying that, but James is one of the best human beings I've ever met, and so is Gerald Swindle. Love those guys, and we do need to arrange some kind of hang soon because it's been a while.
You bet.
All right, buddy.
Fat Cat, we got to get Fat Cat.
Yeah, got to get some Fat Cat in there too.
So, all right.
Heck yeah, buddy.
Sounds good. Follow me on the Real James Watson Instagram and James Watson Professional Angler on Facebook.
Heck yes, James Watson, the worldwide JMFW. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Luke.
Right there. There you heard it. From a Bass Pro Tour MLFer, he calls himself. That's, he makes a lot of good points. And he's obviously all in what they're doing, for sure. He's invested his time. He's invested his career into what they're doing, so he's got to believe in it. And I respect that immensely. That's how he makes his living now. Time will tell. Something he said, and I didn't get to ask him, I actually made a note to, is, things aren't going to change this year. I do think you'll see more changes in 2021 with the FLW circuit for sure, the top level. I do think you'll see some changes. There's rumblings of that. I'm not privy to all the information. I don't know. I just run my mouth on this podcast. I really appreciate each and every one of you that watch this, listen to this, presented by StarTron. I really appreciate it. I want to get back to doing the lives more and more. I've just got a lot going on right now in all aspects. I wanted to give, as I get out of here, I wanted to give a huge congrats and talk about a guy that I've known for quite a while that I respect immensely. Brian New. Brian New's from over in North Carolina, fished the FLWs as a co-angler. Back when I did, he won the Cup. He won Co-Angler of the Year. My rookie year, I fished as a pro. He is an amazing fisherman that should be a pro, but he makes smart financial decisions. He's like, I'm not paying my entry fees. He's been that guy. He's smart. He roomed with Brian Thrift for years, and the kid is amazing. And this year, he just won the BFL Regional down at Lake Seminole, blew it out, and that qualifies him for next year's All-American at Lake Hartwell, a lake he knows well. He'll be right there in the mix. He finished third at this year's All-American, so he qualified for it last year. He finished third at this year's up on the Potomac, made a little push there on the last day. And then the ABA, American Bass Anglers Trail, had have their Ray Scott Championship at Lake Eufaula. He caught over 100 pounds of bass there in 4 days this year to win that. So he's had a big year. And, of course, it's not national headline stuff, but Brian is an absolute beast on the water. And I wanted to say congrats to Brian. And y'all go follow Brian New Fishing. I'm not sure what his plans are for next year, but he is a guy that you don't want to see pull up at the ramp if you're at the tournament right now, I think for sure. So congrats to Brian. Thank y'all all for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll see how all this unfolds. I know one thing for sure today. My foot's in a boot, and it sucks, But next week, we're going to Venice, Louisiana. And I got a podcast for you before we go. Thank y'all. Hope you have a good rest of the week and the weekend. If you want to shoot me an email, lowbudgetlive, @gmail.com. Lowbudgetlive, @gmail.com. Any topics you want me to discuss on there, any guests you want me to get from the fishing world, I'll try my best. Drop a comment below on what you think about the craziness. Let me know what you think. And we'll see y'all real soon. Let's take you out with a little soothing sounds of Biloxi Blues. Thank y'all.
From Jackson Town to Tupelo, I never could make it last. Spanish moss, a Civil War ghost, well, I'm gonna leave them in the past. Any direction, Lord, I'll be fine. It don't matter east or west. North, south, wherever the wind blows, I'm leaving those burdens at rest. This highway, it does not know